So as I pointed out in my review of Viral Spiral, I should probably put a card in the corner, but I probably won't because I'm forgetful and lazy. But as I pointed out in that review, I really like the basic concept of the character of Silico, which is basically a mysterious hacker. And we don't really know a whole lot about his motivations before now, but this episode has his name in it. So presumably, he's going to be in this episode. So let's see if that intrigue can, continue forward. We open with Blossom inventing cold never mind. Buttercup and Bubbles are reading a tabloid website called The Muck Bucket. And you can kind of figure out where the plot's going in a general sense from here, but I'll hit up those beats when we get to them. Admittedly, they do spend a bit more time than would be needed establishing the reputability of the site. But one thing I do like is how this establishes the moral. Well, the first moral. I'll kind of get to that later. First, I got a joke to get out of the way.
Blossom, it's on the internet, so you know it's gotta be true.
Okay, in that case, this show really is full of memes. Horn Sweet Horn is actually about transgenderism, despite the fact that the writers have confirmed otherwise. And Jerry Seinfeld dyes his hair neon pink on Sundays. Okay, I'm the only one who said the last one, but I said it on the fucking internet, bitches! So the girls go to beat up Mojo Jojo after they read that he's gonna cook kittens. And this sequence really isn't very notable, although there is one thing worth my attention. Namely, the thing that I can turn into a running gag. I mean, I don't know whether this is good voice acting or bad voice acting, but either way, it's just astonishing. Girls fly off, lampshade hang, hey, group up, oh no! So yeah, now there's articles about the girls on the Muck Bucket or whatever, and I think it's interesting that I have more to say about a scene that I feel is less notable than the Mojo one. It's kind of just a predictable progression of the plot that we'd expect, but dragged out to hell. And I think I know why it feels so stretched out. The jokes they attempt to pull during this scene are awful. The part with Bubbles supposedly putting hamsters in jail works pretty well. But when we hear about Blossom's alleged transgressions, that's kind of where the joke goes off the rails for me. Granted, not washing her hands after using the bathroom does sound like a very un-Blossom behavior. But did that lady make it sound like that indicated, inherent dishonesty? I mean, I guess you could spin it that way. You can spin just about anything anyway. But Silico later puts up an article about Blossom cheating on another student. That would work a lot better here. Oh, but of course, if we did that, then we wouldn't get amazing defecation humor like this.
Not even after she poured a poopy?
Oh no, she didn't.
Buttercup's crime is that she wears a toupee, which works fine. It's the less serious thing. Rule of 3. Third one should be in some fashion funny. Except Buttercup later kind of implies that there's some truth to the matter.
I don't wear a toupee. This is homespun silk here.
Those aren't words you say when you talk about human hair. Those are words you say when you are talking about artificial hair from a wig and or toupee. I don't know why and. I don't think there's an and in that situation. I guess there's an and. I don't know. Cut. We're done. So now let's get to the good part of the episode. They figure out to go to Silico Industries and just get let right inside. And the door says no entry! Yeah. Trap. Okay, so this is the first interaction between Silico and the girls that we see in the entire series. One of the first things we find out is that the girls apparently did something to him. And we're going to find out more about that later, but first let's let the dramatic tension from that build up a little bit. Buttercup goes on the attack quickly, and I really like the sequence with her breaking the screens as he talks. The villain speaking through some sort of video message or device is a pretty classic trick, as is the hero showing anger by breaking that device and or video screen. And by simply doing this multiple times over and over again, they simply hang a lampshade on it. It's simple, but yeah, it works.
Just like the Powerpuff Girls. Always solving problems with your fists.
You have clearly not been watching this version of the show. He does have some robots for the girls to fight, though. And since they can apparently teleport and phase in and out of existence because they're like solidified holograms or some shit, I'm not even sure what's going on here. It does make sense for the girls to struggle because we're given a valid reason for the girls to not be able to fight them effectively. This is also the point where they kind of slip in the moral of not believing everything you hear. It's nice to see them use a bit of subtlety, but yes, I did bring up the fact that there's a second moral. That's kind of where the second half of the episode is going. Surprisingly, this is the villain that gets the most traditional fight scene in the most of the series. And yeah, I guess part of that comes down to the fact that they're fighting robots, but Bubbles punches Buttercup on accident at one point, and Buttercup's face like distorts and shit. I think if they had more fight scenes like this, the people would probably be more willing to accept this show as it is. Or rather, as it would be. If they had more fight scenes like this. That's what I'm getting at. Silico winds up shoving a bunch of articles in Blossom's face, resulting in Blossom going Super Saiyan and dual-wielding Needlers from Halo. Although that may just be me getting a little bit liberal with my pop culture references. One of the push pins knocks down Silico's dome thing and the robots go away. Most likely because of the fact that the computers that were making them work were no longer in operation. Something like that. Although I would like to note that they imply during this entire sequence that he was typing on the keyboard in order to control the hologram robot things, and also he was typing up these articles and putting them up on the muck bucket. That is a major display of prowess on Silico's part. Like, that actually shows how good he is. And it's a small touch that really adds to that. Anyway, we now have an origin story for Silico, and I have a lot to say about it. So Silico was a pretty lonely kid whose parents weren't around, but he made little robots with his natural ability for computers. But then a monster fell on his house and destroyed them all, blah blah blah, vowed to destroy the girls. Yeah, it's not exactly the most creative origin story in the world, but you know, it's kind of hard to mess with something like that when it does work as is. It's worth noting that the monster appears to be the same one that Morbucks sent after the girls in Princess Buttercup. So it's very possible that in a roundabout way, Morbucks is actually responsible for Silico's origin story as a villain. Either that or the animators are just kind of lazy. I'm sure that someone's going to bring up how much I talk about this show's continuity. And yes, it certainly does seem like a continuity error that the girls have apparently been fighting monsters for long enough to, you know, have Silico become an adult from a child. But not really. I mean, it's kind of like The Simpsons. I'm not bothered by the fact that Bart's been in 5th grade for 20 years. What would bother me is if in one episode he was in class with a bunch of 5th graders, and then in the very next episode he's in class with a bunch of high schoolers. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, you can change that between episodes, but at the same time, I feel like there does need to be a bit of a stopgap with that sort of thing, you know? Basically, all I'm asking for is consistency with who the people around them are, not necessarily with how long they've been doing it or how old the girls are. Like, you can sort of make the joke, they've been in 5th grade, or they've been in kindergarten for 10 years. Simpsons makes that joke too. I'm not bothered by that. It's episodic. I'm cool with it. What I'm saying is I'm bothered by the fact that it's so inconsistent, like who they're in class with. If you're going to make it episodic and not really have them advance forward, then do that. And have other characters that are further away from them maybe advance forward in age when it's needed. But it's not really needed for them to change the age of their classmates all the time. And who their classmates are all the time. I think there's actually a bit of a missed opportunity with this origin story as well. And it's not really to the show's detriment that they didn't do this, but I honestly think it would have been cool. What if Silico had wound up being Bud Smith? You guys remember Bud, right? Son of Harold Smith, whole family are supervillains. I mean, Silico's eye color already matches with what Bud's eventual, you know, color scheme was as a villain, and he'd already have a built-in reason to destroy the girls. And the writers have hinted at continuity with the original series, and this would do a good job of solidifying that. But unlike what they did with Bye Bye Bellum, this would, in my opinion, actually be a good way to solidify that. Have a character advance forward in time. You know, have a character develop. You know, like you could have done with Miss Bellum, you fucking idiots. And like I said, it's not really to their detriment that they didn't do this. It's just something to think about, you know? So Silico escapes, and the girls realize that they should be more careful in the future. But then we get back to Mojo in the end, and to be fair, they do a decent job of connecting the two things. At least a somewhat decent job. The girls apologize to Mojo, who reveals he was raising an army of kittens to take over the world. And you can probably guess how well that worked. Silico on the screen for the cliffhanger! Woo! I liked the episode a lot, despite the problems I had in the early going. This isn't really a highly comedic episode, so if you're looking for comedy, don't look here. Like, especially since when they do try to be funny, it really doesn't work. For me, I actually do end up putting this on the pedestal of being my favorite episode of this new series over Puff Dora's Box, because I feel like the scenes that were bad here actually didn't drag down the episode as much as Puff Dora's Box because they didn't kill the pacing. So, yeah, there you go. New favorite episode. Can't wait to hear how many people disagree with me in the comments.